Right now on ABC 10 News at 4 o'clock, President Biden defends his decision to withdraw American troops from Afghanistan. His warning to the Taliban after it seized control of the entire country. Plus, images of the intensifying crisis, crowds clinging to American military planes. They're desperate to escape. And here at home, the county recommends all employers require employees get vaccinated, the possible legal ramifications. And positively, San Diego, the impact, the little libraries on children across our communities.
ABC 10 News at 4 starts now.
I stand squarely behind my decision.
After days of chaos, President Biden addressed the nation this afternoon, defending his decision to pull U.S. troops out of Afghanistan. Thank you for joining us. I'm Kimberly Hunt. And this comes as the Taliban now has control over the entire country of Afghanistan after seizing the capital city of Kabul. And the withdrawal of American forces turned deadly at Kabul's airport over the weekend, as Isabel Rosales reports. Amid criticism of how the pullout was executed, President Biden has a stern warning for the Taliban.
President Biden cutting his trip to Camp David short to address the chaos in Afghanistan.
Our mission in Afghanistan was never supposed to have been nation building.
Outside the U.S. Embassy in Kabul, the Taliban celebrates taking control of the capital. While at the airport, crowds cling to American military planes, desperate to escape.
People are crying out for help to not be abandoned.
Among the many fearful, interpreters and other allies who assisted the U.S. military.
It is gut-wrenching. These are people we relied on, that we promised that we wouldn't leave them behind.
Civilians struggling to understand the rapid speed of Kabul's fall.
Actually, I feel nothing right now. We want peace.
Back in the U.S., many are doing the same.
Afghanistan political leaders gave up and fled the country.
The White House's national security team is shifting the blame to the Afghan government and troops.
American troops cannot and should not be fighting in a war and dying in a war that Afghan forces are not willing to fight for themselves.
Now, the State Department says they are working with other countries to bring vulnerable citizens to safety.
We will defend our people with devastating force if necessary.
In Washington, I'm Isabel Rosales.
As the Taliban takeover continues in Afghanistan, Afghans continue to escape their homes or hide. Humanitarian and international rights groups are especially concerned about what's to come for women and children.
I mean, I'm really, really concerned for the people there, particularly the women who are terrified at what they have to face moving forward under Taliban rule.
So they don't want to live in a restricted area where everything is policed, everything has to be told and in accordance to what others think. And if you question them, if you ask for the rights, your throats will be slit.
Now, before the U.S. involvement in Afghanistan and when the Taliban was last in power, girls and women weren't allowed to work or go to school. They couldn't go into public without a male escort or covering their entire body, and no one's sure what to expect with this latest resurgence.
There are many like me, vocal, who will get the world's attention, but then there are girls who don't have access to media, who don't have access to any international platform, who cannot access their schools. I'm worried about those girls more because that's the statute of limitation. Those are the girls that we should be talking about, we should be worried about because nobody's going to raise their voice.
Nearly 250,000 Afghans have left their homes since May, when many feared that the Taliban would start imposing new restrictions. That's according to the United Nations. Now, 80% of those are women and children. Now, you're taking a look at some of the chaos that we have seen at the Kabul airport as Afghans have tried to escape. The UN also reports more women and children have been killed and injured this year in Afghanistan than in the first half of any other year since it started keeping records in 2009. Women's rights groups are immediately focused on finding Afghans safe places to live, meet, and keeping them connected. Now, international aid groups are also focused on the situation in Haiti. Relief efforts after Saturday's massive earthquake will be challenged by tropical weather from grace. Preventing this sort of earthquake devastation, even with Haiti's history, is still lacking. The country is the poorest nation in the Western Hemisphere, and there's a lack of political organization and coordination to build more earthquake-resistant structures. The recent assassination of the country's president has only added to the chaos. Now, HopeForHaiti.com has an updated blog on the situation and how people can help.
Now to the coronavirus. San Diego County now recommends local employers require employees to show proof of vaccination or undergo regular testing. That announcement came this morning. ABC 10 News reporter Jennifer Kastner is live outside the county administration building downtown. And Jennifer, officials said this applies to all employers in the region?
Yes, this is for the public sector, the private sector, and for nonprofits. Again, this is only a recommendation. It is not a requirement. Earlier today, the county said it has made this decision, citing the rise in COVID cases and hospitalizations because of the growing prominence of the Delta variant. Officials reminded everyone that vaccines are widely available for free, and the county recently expanded the number of testing sites. Supervisor Nathan Fletcher stated that as of today, the county is making the strong recommendation that all employers require that their employees be vaccinated or be subject to regular testing and a mask requirement. He called the current situation here a pandemic of the unvaccinated and said the case rate here is 10 times higher for unvaccinated San Diegans.
More than 92% of COVID cases in the last 30 days are in the unvaccinated. 98% of hospitalizations in the last 30 days are in the unvaccinated. And so we're going to do everything we can as a region, but it is clear what is the single most effective thing to slow the cases and slow the hospitalizations is getting as many San Diegans vaccinated as possible.
And starting tomorrow, all county employees will have to start submitting their proof of vaccination. More on that tonight on ABC 10 News at 5 p.m. Reporting live from downtown, Jennifer Kastner, ABC 10 News.
Thank you, Jennifer. And questions are arising about vaccine protocol. ABC 10 News anchor Mary McKenzie spoke with the local attorney to get his take on what repercussions the county announcement could have.
I'm here to provide context, essentially. I spoke to a local attorney about the legal implications and ramifications of this recommendation from county leaders today. Attorney Dan Eaton said essentially this is validation that lends strength and solidarity for employers who choose to issue vaccine requirements. But county political leaders aren't courts, and therefore this doesn't provide legal weight to those mandates. Similarly, the FDA fully approving one or more versions of the vaccine wouldn't change the legal right of a company to mandate its workers getting vaccinated. Measures like these may encourage more people to do it, but it doesn't change things from a legal perspective. Eaton used the metaphor that up to this point, when it comes to vaccine mandates or quasi-mandates, as he calls some of them, they're vaccine cheerleaders and vaccine coaches. A cheerleader can encourage you to get the shot, which is what most officials and employers have been up to this point. A coach can tell you to get the vaccine or put you on the bench or even cut you from the team if you choose not to. And mandates like these wouldn't take into account the tens of thousands of people in the county who aren't employed at all for many different reasons. He says people don't really like mandates. With mandates come resistance, and with resistance comes litigation. With litigation comes delay, and with a pandemic, the one thing you can't afford is delay. So whether states or county health departments could mandate vaccinations for everyone might not be a direction worth taking, even if they might ultimately hold up to legal challenges.
After this pandemic is eradicated, the one thing you could say for sure is the litigation will continue for some years. And only then will we have the final answer about the legal rights, the legal duties, and the legal consequences that arise from this persistent pandemic.
Also worth noting that according to our most recent ABC 10 News scientific polling, the majority of Californians recommend and approve of employers mandating vaccines for their workers and also for businesses to require vaccinations of their customers. At the County Administration Building, Mary McKenzie, ABC 10 News.
Big topic right now. Thank you, Mary. And Pfizer says its booster shots work well against COVID-19 and its variants. Today, Pfizer and BioNTech said that it sent its initial data on boosters to the FDA. Researchers say the additional dose significantly raises a person's antibody response. They also say it can equally protect against the virus's initial strain and the Delta and Beta variants. Health officials say there's no indication a booster is needed yet. Children under the age of 3 may be more likely than older kids to spread COVID-19. That is according to a new study published today by JAMA Pediatrics. This contradicts earlier studies that suggested that young children were less likely to spread the virus. Researchers found older kids often brought the virus home, but that toddlers were more likely to spread it to other family members. Researchers say the solution is everyone 12 and older to get vaccinated. Download the ABC 10 News mobile app to keep track of new developments in the pandemic. It is free in the App Store. An hours-long standoff ended peacefully in Sorrento Valley. Sky 10 was overhead amid the heavy law enforcement presence. It started about 9:30 this morning. Police say an auto theft suspect pulled into a parking lot outside the FBI's field office on Vista Sorrento Parkway. He refused orders to surrender, which led to the standoff. Police fired pepper balls into the car and he eventually surrendered and was arrested.